I looked back through the helicopter window and, I confess, seeing that desolate man watching his daughter board as payment guarantee awakened a disturbing sensation in me. Raymond Hartley was on his knees in the dry soil of the farm, hands covering his face while my men kept him at bay. For the first time in my 32 years, something akin to guilt scratched at my conscience. I shook my head, pushing the thought away. I am Dante Salvatore. We don't feel pity. Feelings are weaknesses that men like me cannot afford to have. My grandfather built this empire with blood and fear. My father expanded it with calculated brutality. And me? I perfected the art of being ruthless. I turned to the passenger beside me. Clementine Hartley sat rigid in the beige leather seat, her emerald green eyes fixed on the horizon, refusing to look at me. Her auburn hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and she wore a simple plaid shirt and jeans, as far from my world of silk and luxury as possible. She was beautiful, I noticed with some irritation. Not the artificial beauty of the women who usually frequented my circles, all silicone and heavy makeup. No, Clementine had that natural, raw beauty, the kind that made men write idiotic poetry. Not that it mattered. She was just collateral, a temporary asset. "How long do you plan to sit there pretending I don't exist, Piccola?" I asked, my voice cutting through the silence of the flight. Her eyes turned to me, and the hatred in them was so pure, it almost made me smile. "Until you rot and die, Stronzo." This time I couldn't contain my smile. She had spirit. This would make things interesting. 3 days earlier, I was in my office in downtown Chicago, reviewing the ledgers of the family businesses, when Marco, my consigliere and right-hand man, entered with a folder. "We have a problem with the Hartley loan." Hartley? I lit a Cuban cigar, not even bothering to look up. I don't remember that name. Farmer, $500,000. Marco opened the folder before me. "Vincenzo approved the loan 6 months ago. 5% daily rate, standard for high risks." Now he had my attention. Vincenzo was my cousin, responsible for alternative financing operations. And he was an idiot. 5% daily for a farmer? I looked at Marco. Even the most optimistic of men would know that's impossible to repay. "Exactly." Marco pointed to the numbers. "The debt is already at 800,000. He has no way to pay, but... The farm is worth 200,000 at most. Dry land, old equipment, doesn't cover even half." I rolled my eyes. Vincenzo would be transferred to some distant operation for this incompetence. "And what does he have besides the farm?" Marco hesitated, and that made me look up. "A daughter, 23 years old, single, no criminal record, decent education, works on the farm." I frowned. "You're suggesting—" "I'm not suggesting anything, Capo. But Vincenzo already mentioned the possibility to the debtor, as temporary collateral until he can get the money." Something in my stomach twisted. I trafficked information, extorted corrupt businessmen, controlled Chicago's underworld with an iron fist. But I had never trafficked people, especially women. "Tell Vincenzo." The farmer already agreed. Marco interrupted me. "Yesterday. Said he'd rather hand over his daughter temporarily than lose the farm that's been in the family for 3 generations. He has 60 days to get the money." I closed my eyes. Damn Vincenzo. Damn foolish farmer. And the daughter knows. Not until this morning. Present. Salvatore Mansion. The helicopter landed in the mansion's garden, and I watched Clementine descend, looking around with a mixture of fascination and horror. The Salvatore estate occupied 5 acres in Lake Forest, overlooking Lake Michigan. It was obscenely opulent, exactly as it should be. "Welcome to your new temporary residence." I offered my arm, which she completely ignored. "Go to hell." "I've been there, cara mia. It's not as bad as they say." We entered the mansion, and I saw her eyes widen at the sight of the baccarat crystal chandeliers, the Italian marble floors, The artwork's worth more than her entire farm. Giovanni, my butler, approached. "Mr. Salvatore, I've prepared the blue suite for Miss Hartley." "Miss Hartley." I turned to her. "The rules are simple. You have freedom within the mansion and gardens. You cannot leave the property without escort. You cannot make calls without supervision. Civilized behavior will be rewarded with privileges. Resistance will be what?" She took a step toward me, and I realized I had to admire her courage. She barely reached my shoulder, but was challenging me as if she were a one-woman army. "You'll beat me, torture me, kill me?" I leaned in, bringing my face close to hers, and saw her pupils dilate. "No, Piccola. I'll simply add more interest to your father's debt. Each act of rebellion will cost him another month working to pay me back." I saw the struggle in her eyes, the desire to spit at me versus her love for her father. Love won. "When can I speak to him?" "Tomorrow, a supervised call of 5 minutes." I gestured to Giovanni. "Show her to her quarters." As she followed Giovanni upstairs, I couldn't help but watch her. There was something about her, something that bothered me in a way I couldn't identify. "She's just collateral," I repeated to myself. In 60 days, she goes home, and I never think of her again. But even as I thought it, I knew I was lying to myself. And Dante Salvatore never lied, especially to himself. The blue suite was larger than Clementine's entire house back at the farm. A 4-poster bed dominated the room, draped in silk, the color of Mediterranean waters. French doors opened to a balcony overlooking the lake and the bathroom. God, the bathroom had a tub the size of a small pool. She hated it. Every inch of marble, every thread of Egyptian cotton, every piece of priceless art on the walls reminded her that she was a prisoner in a gilded cage. Clem threw herself on the bed, burying her face in pillows that probably cost more than her truck. She wouldn't cry. She refused to give Dante Salvatore that satisfaction. A knock on the door made her sit up. "Miss Hartley?" A woman's voice, accented and warm. "May I come in?" "It's not like I can stop you." The door opened to reveal a woman in her 50s, with kind eyes and graying hair pulled into a neat bun. She carried a tray with food that smelled incredible. "I'm Lucia, the head housekeeper. Mr. Salvatore thought you might be hungry." She set the tray on the side table. "I made chicken parmesan, my nonna's recipe." Despite everything, Clem's stomach growled. She hadn't eaten since breakfast, and that felt like a lifetime ago. "Thank you," she muttered, hating how her voice cracked. Lucia's expression softened. "I know this must be frightening, Bambina, but Mr. Salvatore, he's complicated. He's a monster who kidnapped me. He's a man who lives by a code." Lucia moved to the closet, opening it to reveal clothes in Clem's exact size. "Old world, yes, harsh sometimes, but he keeps his word. If your father pays, you'll go home unharmed." "And if he can't?" Clem whispered. Lucia didn't answer, which was answer enough. The next morning, Dante was in the gym at 5 a.m., pounding his frustration into a punching bag when Marco appeared. "You look like hell, Capo." "I didn't sleep." Dante landed a vicious uppercut. "That woman is driving me insane, and she's been here less than 24 hours. "The farmer's daughter?" Marco raised an eyebrow. "What did she do?" "Nothing. That's the problem." Another punch. "She should be crying, begging, making this easy. Instead, she looks at me like I'm something she scraped off her shoe." Marco actually laughed. "And that bothers you?" "Yes." "No. I don't know." Dante stopped, breathing hard. "I keep thinking about her father, on his knees in that dirt. The way she didn't cry when we took her. She's either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Maybe both." Marco grew serious. "Dante, if this is going to be a problem..." "It's not a problem." Dante grabbed a towel. "She's here for 60 days. "I'll barely see her. Giovanni can handle everything." "Right. That's why you personally ordered Lucia to make her favorite foods and had me research her clothing size. Dante shot him a dangerous look. I treat all my assets appropriately. Sure you do. At 9 a.m. sharp, Dante stood outside the library where Clementine waited for her supervised call. He'd told himself he wouldn't attend personally, that Giovanni could handle it. He'd lied to himself again. She sat at his desk, looking small in the oversized leather chair, phone in hand. When she saw him, her jaw tightened. 5 minutes, Dante said, hitting speaker and setting a timer. Supervised, as agreed. Her finger trembled slightly as she dialed. On the third ring, her father answered. Clem? Baby, is that you? Dad. Her voice broke, and Dante felt that uncomfortable sensation in his chest again. I'm okay. I'm safe. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I'm so sorry. I never imagined. I know, Dad. It's okay. She wiped her eyes quickly, and Dante found himself looking away. How are you? Are you eating? Don't worry about me. I'm working on getting the money. Joe knows a guy who might buy the North Pasture, and I've got calls into. Dad, the North Pasture is worthless. You know that. Clem's voice steadied, became practical. Listen to me. Sell the equipment, the tractor, the harvester, all of it. Then talk to the Wilsons about leasing the land. They've wanted to expand for years. But the farm doesn't matter if you're dead or I'm stuck here forever. Her eyes flicked to Dante, challenging. Do whatever it takes. I'll be fine. Dante watched her transform from scared girl to fierce protector, and something shifted in his perception of her. 1 minute, he announced. I have to go, Dad. I love you. I love you too, baby. I'll get you out. I promise. She hung up and stood, facing Dante with her chin high despite the tears on her cheeks. Satisfied. Your father seems motivated. My father is a dreamer who makes terrible decisions. She crossed her arms. But he's my father, and if you hurt him, you'll what? Remove my eyes with a rusty spoon? Dante moved closer, intrigued despite himself. You fascinate me, Piccola. You should be terrified. Instead, you threaten me. Would being terrified change anything? No. Then why waste the energy? She tilted her head. You're going to do whatever you want anyway. Men like you always do. Men like me? Bullies with money. You think power makes you special, but really you're just sad. Hiding behind violence because you're too broken to be human. The words hit harder than any punch. Dante grabbed her wrist, not hard, but firm enough to make his point. Careful, Cara. You may have spirit, but I have limits. She didn't flinch. So do I. And you just found one. They stood there, inches apart, her pulse racing under his fingers, his own heart beating faster than it should. Her eyes were molten emerald, furious and fearless, and Dante realized with disturbing clarity that he wanted to kiss that defiant mouth. He released her abruptly. You have library privileges. Giovanni will show you. He moved to the door. Don't make me regret being generous. Generous? She laughed bitterly. You kidnapped me. I gave you a choice between this and watching your father lose everything, including his life. Dante turned back. You made the sacrifice. That makes you brave, not a victim. Remember that. He left before he could say or do something he'd regret. Behind him, Clementine stood frozen, hand pressed to her racing heart, equally confused by the man who was supposed to be her enemy. Day 7. Clementine discovered that captivity in a mansion was different from what movies portrayed. There were no chains, no locked doors, just invisible walls built from obligation and fear for her father. She spent her days in the library, a 2-story marvel filled with first editions and leather-bound classics. Reading became her escape, though she felt Dante's presence even when he wasn't there. The books he'd marked, the notes in margins written in elegant Italian script, they revealed more than he probably intended. She was curled in a window seat reading Dante's Inferno. The irony wasn't lost on her, when the man himself appeared. Appropriate choice, Dante said. leaning against the doorframe. He ditched the suit for dark jeans and a black Henley that did unfair things to his physique. Clem didn't look up. I'm at the part where traitors are frozen in ice for eternity. Remind you of anyone? Careful, Piccola. That sharp tongue will get you in trouble. It already has. I'm here, aren't I? A ghost of a smile crossed his face. I need you to accompany me to dinner tonight. That made her look up. Excuse me? Dinner. 7 p.m. Formal attire. He straightened. Non-negotiable. Let me guess. You're having guests and need to parade your captive around. Nothing so dramatic. My grandmother is visiting. Something almost vulnerable flickered in his eyes. She's traditional. She expects me to have a woman in my life. You'll play the part. Absolutely not. Your father's debt just increased by 50,000. Clem shot to her feet. You can't just... I can. Dante moved closer, and she hated how her body responded to his proximity. And I will, unless you cooperate. It's one dinner, Clementine. A few hours of pretending to tolerate me. I don't have formal clothes. Already handled. Check your closet. He turned to leave, then paused. And Piccola? My grandmother is a sweet old woman who's had enough heartbreak. Be kind to her, and I'll reduce your father's interest rate by 1%. He left before she could respond. At 6:45 p.m., Dante stood in the foyer, adjusting his cufflinks for the third time. Marco watched with unconcealed amusement. Nervous, capo? Shut up. Your grandmother is going to see right through this. Nonna sees what she wants to see. Dante checked his watch. Where is she? The girl? Probably trying to climb out a window in that dress. Then Clementine appeared at the top of the stairs, and Dante forgot how to breathe. The emerald dress hugged her curves perfectly, bringing out the fire in her auburn hair that Lucia had styled in soft waves. She looked like a Renaissance painting come to life, beautiful, untouchable, and absolutely furious. Stop staring, she hissed when she reached him. You look like your prisoner in expensive clothes. I know. But color rose in her cheeks. The doorbell rang, preventing his response. Giovanni opened it to reveal a tiny woman with silver hair and sharp black eyes that missed nothing. Nonna! Dante's entire demeanor changed, becoming warmer, softer. He embraced his grandmother, kissing both cheeks. Nipote mio, she murmured. Then her gaze landed on Clementine. And who is this bellissima creature? This is Clementine Hartley. Clementine, my grandmother, Elisabetta Salvatore. Clem extended her hand, but Elisabetta pulled her into a hug instead. Che bella, finally, a woman with some meat on her bones, not like those stick insects you usually date. She held Clem at arm's length. And those eyes, like the Adriatic Sea. It's lovely to meet you, Mrs. Salvatore, Clem said, and Dante heard genuine warmth in her voice. Dinner was excruciating. Elisabetta asked endless questions about their relationship, and both Dante and Clementine had to improvise answers that wouldn't raise suspicion. How did you meet? Elisabetta asked over the antipasto. Business, Dante said. My father owed him money, Clementine said simultaneously. Elisabetta's eyebrows rose. I made a business loan to her father, Dante interjected smoothly. Clementine came to discuss terms. We connected. I was ready to kill him, actually, Clem added, then seemed to remember herself. I mean, his business practices made me so angry that I spoke my mind, passionately, and I found her fire irresistible. Dante's eyes locked with hers, and he realized he wasn't entirely lying. Amore vero, Elisabetta sighed happily. True love always starts with fighting. As dinner progressed, something strange happened. The pretense became easier. Clem told stories about farm life that made Elisabetta laugh. Dante found himself relaxing, enjoying the sound of Clementine's voice, the way her eyes sparkled when she smiled. Really smiled, not the bitter smirks she usually gave him. You remind me of myself at your age, Elisabetta told Clem during dessert. Strong, stubborn, too smart for the men around you. Dante's grandfather was lucky to find you, Clem said softly. Lucky? Bah, I made him work for me every day of our marriage. Elisabetta's eyes grew distant. He was a hard man, like all Salvatore men. But underneath, she looked at Dante. They love with the same intensity they fight. They just forget how sometimes. After dinner, Dante walked his grandmother to her car while Clementine waited inside. She's special, nipote, Elisabetta said, gripping his hand. Don't lose her to your stubbornness. Nonna, it's complicated. Love is always complicated. That's what makes it worth having. She cupped his cheek. I see how you look at her. Like your grandfather looked at me. Don't waste time pretending otherwise. Dante returned to find Clementine on the balcony, the night wind playing with her hair. You were kind to her, he said quietly. Thank you. She's lovely. She deserves kindness. Clem turned. Unlike her grandson. I'm reducing your father's rate. 2%, not 1. Why? Because you could have told her the truth, ruined everything. You didn't. Clementine moved closer, and Dante caught the scent of her perfume, something floral and clean, so unlike the heavy fragrances he was used to. Your grandmother thinks you love me, she whispered. My grandmother is a romantic. And you're not? I'm a realist. That's sad. Her hand rested on his chest, probably feeling his racing heart. You have all this, money, power, a family who loves you, and you've convinced yourself you don't deserve softness. Clementine. One day someone's going to break through those walls, Dante Salvatore. I almost feel sorry for you when they do. She left him there, heart pounding, walls feeling significantly less stable than they had that morning. Day 14. The nightmare came at 2 a.m. Clementine woke to screaming, raw, agonized sounds that raised every hair on her body. She grabbed a robe and ran into the hallway, following the sounds to Dante's bedroom. Marco was already there, blocking the door. Go back to your room, Miss Hartley. Someone's hurt. It's handled. Another scream, and Clem pushed past Marco before he could stop her. She burst into Dante's room to find him tangled in sheets, face twisted in terror, words tumbling out in Italian. No, papa, per favore, don't make me, the blood, so much blood. Mr. Salvatore, Giovanni hovered uselessly by the bed. Clem didn't think. She climbed onto the bed, gripping Dante's shoulders. Dante, wake up, you're dreaming. His eyes snapped open, wild, unseeing. His hand shot to her throat, and suddenly she was on her back, his weight pinning her, fingers tight enough to bruise. Dante, it's me, it's Clementine. Recognition flickered. His grip loosened, horror replacing the violence in his eyes. He released her and stumbled backward, chest heaving. Get out, he rasped. All of you, out. Marco pulled at Clem's arm, but she shook him off. I'm staying. Piccola, leave, now. No. She stood her ground, ignoring Marco's protests. Everyone else, out. Give us a minute. To her surprise, Marco obeyed, closing the door behind him. Dante stood by the window, shoulders rigid, breathing ragged. In the moonlight, she could see scars across his back, some old, some newer, evidence of a violent life. You should be afraid of me, he said without turning. Probably. I'm not. She approached slowly, like he was a wounded animal. How often do you have nightmares? That's none of your concern. Dante, you just tried to strangle me in your sleep. I think it is my concern. He laughed, a bitter, broken sound. This is why I don't let people close. This is what I am, Clementine. A monster who sees blood even when he closes his eyes. What happened to your father? His whole body went rigid. How did you... You called for him, in Italian, begging him not to make you do something. She touched his shoulder gently. What did he make you do? For a long moment silence, then, I was 12. My father wanted to teach me the family business. Really teach me." His voice was flat, emotionless, the only way he could tell this story. There was a traitor. Someone who'd stolen from us. My father handed me a gun and said it was time to become a man. Clem's breath caught. I couldn't do it. I stood there crying, shaking. My father, he was not pleased with my weakness. Dante's hand went to his ribs, and Clem remembered seeing a particularly nasty scar there. So he made me watch while he did it, made me help dispose of the body. I was 12 years old, covered in another man's blood, and my father told me this was love, this was family. Dante, I have killed people, Clementine. More than I can count. I am exactly what you think I am. She moved in front of him, forcing him to look at her. You're a man who was broken by his father and rebuilt himself into something hard enough to survive. That's what I think you are. You're naive. And you're terrified. She cupped his face, feeling him tremble. You're terrified that if you let yourself feel anything, you'll shatter. So you push everyone away and pretend you're made of stone. It's safer. For who? You're suffocating, Dante. I can see it. He grabbed her wrists but didn't push her away. Why do you care? I'm holding you prisoner. Because I see you, the real you, the man who loves his grandmother, who treats his staff with respect, who reduced my father's interest rate because I was kind to an old woman. She moved closer. The man who's so desperate not to be his father that he's forgotten how to be himself. Clementine, you want to know what I think? I think you're exhausted from being the villain. I think part of you wants to be saved just as much as I want to go home. Something in him broke. He pulled her against him, burying his face in her hair, and she felt his whole body shudder. I don't know how to be anything else, he whispered. Then learn. Start small. Start with being honest. I'm attracted to you. The words came out rough. So attracted it's driving me insane. I think about you constantly. The way you fight me, the way you smile at Lucia, the sound of your laugh when you think no one's listening. I want to kiss you. He pulled back. But I can't. You're here because of me. Any choice you make isn't really free. Clem's heart raced. What if I kissed you? Would that be my choice? Don't. But his eyes betrayed him, dropping to her lips. I'm not asking permission, Dante. I'm telling you what I want. She rose on her toes and pressed her lips to his. For a heartbeat, he was frozen. Then he groaned and kissed her back, deep, desperate, his hands tangling in her hair. It was nothing like she'd imagined. It was raw and real and tasted like broken promises and maybe, just maybe, redemption. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, reality crashed back. This is insane, Dante said. Completely. You should hate me. I should. I don't. She touched his face. I'm furious at you. I'm attracted to you. Both things are true. Your father is not here right now. Right now, it's just us. She stepped back. I'm going back to my room. Not because you're ordering me, but because we both need to think. But Dante, next time you have a nightmare, you don't have to face it alone. She left him standing there, and for the first time since she'd arrived, Dante Salvatore felt something other than emptiness. He felt hope. And it terrified him more than any nightmare ever could. Day 15. Marco found Dante in his office at dawn, staring at security footage of Clementine reading in the garden. You're in trouble, Capo. I'm aware. What are you going to do? Dante closed the laptop. I'm going to find a way to help her father pay the debt. And then, I'm going to let her go. And if you don't want to let her go, then I'll let her go anyway. He met Marco's eyes, because that's what she deserves. Freedom. Not a broken man who doesn't know how to love without hurting. Maybe she could teach you. Maybe. Dante stood. Or maybe I'd destroy her trying to learn. I won't risk that. But even as he said it, he knew the decision was already out of his hands. He was falling for Clementine Hartley, and falling had never felt so much like flying. Day 21. Everything changed the day Vincenzo came to visit. Clementine was in the garden, sketching the lake view, when raised voices pulled her attention to the study. She crept closer to the open window. "You've gone soft, Cugino." Vincenzo's voice dripped with contempt. "The girl should be working off the debt, not lounging around like a princess." "The arrangement is none of your business." Dante's tone was ice. "It's family business. My deal, my rules, unless—" A cruel laugh. "Unless you've developed feelings for the farmer's daughter?" How pathetic. The sound of furniture scraping, then Dante's voice, deadly quiet. "Get out. And if you ever suggest involving her in our operations again, I'll forget we share blood." Vincenzo emerged moments later, nearly colliding with Clementine. His eyes raked over her in a way that made her skin crawl. "Enjoy your vacation, Bella. It won't last forever." He leaned close. "And when Dante tires of playing house, I'll be waiting." After he left, Clem found Dante pouring scotch with shaking hands. What did he mean? Working off the debt? Dante's jaw clenched. "Nothing. He's an idiot." "Dante, he wanted you working at one of our establishments." "I refused." He downed the scotch. "You're not collateral to be used. You're—" He stopped. "I'm what?" "You're under my protection. That's all he needs to know." But Clem saw the truth in his eyes. She was becoming something he couldn't afford. Something dangerous. Day 25. The breaking point came during a thunderstorm. Dante had been avoiding her for 4 days, burying himself in work. Clem finally cornered him in the library at midnight. "We need to talk." "It's late." "I don't care." She blocked his path. "You've been treating me like I have the plague. What happened?" "What happened is I remembered what this is. A business arrangement. Nothing more." "Liar." She stepped closer. "You're scared. Admit it." "I'm not scared of anything." "Then why are you running?" She poked his chest. "Why have you been hiding in your office? Why won't you look at me?" "Because when I look at you, I forget every rule I've ever made." The words exploded out of him. "I forget that you're here because of debt. I forget that I'm the monster who took you. I forget everything except how much I want." He stopped, breathing hard. "Want what?" Thunder crashed outside. Lightning illuminated his face, raw, vulnerable, completely unguarded. "You." "I want you. Not as collateral or an arrangement. I want to know everything about you. I want to hear you laugh, see you smile, wake up to you every morning. I want things I have no right to want." Clem's heart hammered. "What if I want those things too?" "Then you're insane." "Probably." She grabbed his shirt. "Kiss me, Dante." "Clementine, that's an order from your prisoner. Kiss me or I'll—" He kissed her, lifting her onto the desk, papers scattering. This kiss was different from the first. No hesitation, just pure need. His hands tangled in her hair, her legs wrapped around his waist, and for one perfect moment, nothing else existed. "This is wrong," he murmured against her lips. "I know. We should stop. We should." But neither of them moved. "I'm falling for you," he confessed. "And it's terrifying." She cupped his face. "I'm already there. Has been for days. Your father made his choices. I made mine." She kissed him softly. "I choose this. I choose you. Flawed, damaged, beautiful you. I don't deserve you. Good thing I'm not asking for deserving. I'm asking for honest." She searched his eyes. "Can you give me that? Real honesty? No walls?" Dante pulled back, running a hand through his hair. "You want honesty? Fine. I've been looking for ways to clear your father's debt. Legal ways. I've liquidated assets, called in favors, even considered selling properties." Clem's breath caught. "Why would you—" "Because I can't keep you like this. Knowing you're here out of obligation, that every touch might be tainted by the power I hold over you." He turned away. I'm trying to free you, Piccola, even though it's killing me. And if I don't want to be freed? You will. When you're home, safe, away from this world, you'll realize what a mistake this was. She stood, moving to him. Stop deciding what I'll feel. Stop trying to be noble. If you want me to leave, say it. If you want me to stay, say that instead. I want... His phone buzzed. Then again. And again. Marco's name flashed on the screen. Dante answered, his expression darkening with each word. When? How many? Jesus Christ. He hung up. Get your things. Now. What's happening? Vincenzo made a move. He's challenged my authority in front of the other families. Dante grabbed her hand. And he's threatened to take you to prove I've gone soft. We need to move you somewhere safe. I'm not running from your psycho cousin. This isn't a discussion. For the first time, she saw real fear in his eyes. These aren't people who play by rules, Clementine. If they take you, I can't protect you. Please, trust me. She saw it then. This was his nightmare made real. Losing someone he cared about to the violence he'd been born into. Okay, I trust you. Relief flooded his face. He kissed her forehead. Giovanni is preparing a car. Marco will take you to a safe house upstate. I'll handle Vincenzo. Dante, if something happens to you, it won't. But his hands trembled as he held her face. I've survived this world for 32 years. I'm not leaving you now that I've finally found something worth living for. 20 minutes later, Clem was in an SUV with Marco, watching the mansion disappear in the rearview mirror. Through the rear window, she saw Dante standing in the rain, looking more alone than any person should ever be. He loves you, you know, Marco said quietly. I know. It's making him reckless, dangerous. Good. Clem wiped her eyes. Maybe it's time the great Dante Salvatore fought for something other than power. Maybe. Marco's expression was grim. Let's just hope it doesn't get him killed. As they drove into the night, Clementine made herself a promise. She would survive this. She would get through whatever came next, because Dante Salvatore needed her. And she'd be damned if she'd let him face his demons alone. Day 26. Safe house. The cabin was secluded, buried deep in the Adirondacks, where cell service was a myth, and the nearest town was 40 miles away. Clementine paced like a caged animal, while Marco monitored security feeds. Any word? She asked for the 100th time. Nothing yet. That's good news. No news means Dante's handling it. Or it means he's dead and you're lying to me. Marco looked up, something like sympathy in his eyes. If Dante was dead, you'd know. The entire underworld would know. When a king falls, everyone hears. A king. That's what Dante was in his world, royalty built on blood and fear. And she'd fallen in love with him anyway. Her phone, a burner Marco had given her, buzzed. An unknown number. Don't answer that, Marco warned. She answered anyway. Hello? Clementine. Baby, it's Dad. Her heart stopped. Dad, how did you get this number? A man came to see me. Said he was Dante's cousin, that he could help us. Raymond's voice shook. He said if I testified that Dante kidnapped you, forced you to stay, he could get the charges dropped and the debt forgiven. Ice flooded her veins. Dad, no. Whatever he told you. I already did it, sweetheart. I gave a statement to his lawyers. You'll be free by tomorrow. Dad, you don't understand. Vincenzo isn't trying to help. He's trying to destroy Dante. Who cares? You'll be home. That monster won't have any claim on you. Clementine's mind raced. If Raymond testified against Dante, it wouldn't just ruin him legally. It would humiliate him in front of the families. Prove Vincenzo's claim that Dante had gone soft, broken the code. It would start a war. Dad, listen carefully. You need to recant that statement. Now. Are you insane? This is our way out. This is a trap. Dante was trying to help us. He's been liquidating assets to pay your debt. He told you that? Clem, he's manipulating you. Stockholm Syndrome, baby! You're defending your captor! Was she? Clementine pressed her hand to her forehead, trying to think clearly. But all she could see was Dante's face in the rain, hear his voice. I'm trying to free you, even though it's killing me. I love him, she whispered. Silence. Then, what did you say? I love him, Dad. I know it sounds crazy, but I do. And if you testify against him, you'll destroy him. Please, trust me. Clementine Grace Hartley, that man kidnapped you. That man is trying to be better than his father ever was. He's fighting his entire nature to protect me. Tears streamed down her face. I'm begging you, Dad. Recant the statement. The line went dead. Marco was already on his phone. We have a problem. Salvatore Estate. Same time. Dante stood in the council room, facing 5 family heads and Vincenzo's smug face. The girl's father gave testimony, Don Carmine announced, sliding papers across the table. Says you abducted his daughter, held her against her will. That's a violation of our code, Dante. We don't traffic innocents. I had an arrangement he was coerced into. Vincenzo leaned back. You've grown weak, Cugino. Soft. You let a pretty face cloud your judgment. I let nothing cloud my judgment. Dante's voice was steel. The farmer signed a contract. His daughter agreed to serve as collateral. Everything was legal. Legal? She was a prisoner. She had freedom of the estate, access to resources, respect from my staff. Dante stood. Tell me, Vincenzo, what would you have done with her? Put her in one of your clubs? Sold her to the highest bidder? The room went silent. That's what this is really about, Dante continued. You're angry because I treated a debt guarantor with dignity instead of cruelty, because I chose honor over exploitation. You chose pussy over profit. Vincenzo slammed the table. You're in love with her. Admit it. Yes. The word rang out clear and strong. I'm in love with her, and unlike you, I see no shame in that. The council members shifted uncomfortably. Our grandfather built this family on fear, Dante said, meeting each man's eyes. My father maintained it with brutality. But fear only lasts so long before it turns to hatred. Hatred becomes rebellion. I've been trying to build something different, something sustainable. Weakness, Vincenzo spat. Evolution. Dante turned to Don Carmine. The world is changing. Law enforcement is smarter. Technology makes secrets impossible. And the old ways are dying. We adapt, or we extinct. I've been moving our operations legitimate. Real estate, construction, investments. Clean money, sustainable power. And the girl? Don Carmine asked. I'll release her today. Her father's debt forgiven, no strings attached. The words tasted like ash. I'll prove my judgment isn't compromised. Dante, no, Marco burst in. The safe house just went dark. Clementine's gone. Everything stopped. What do you mean gone? She left a note. Said she was coming back to fix this. Marco's face was pale. She's been gone 20 minutes. She could be anywhere. Vincenzo smiled. Looks like your little bird flew away. How unfortunate. Dante moved so fast, Vincenzo didn't see it coming. One moment he was smirking, the next he was pinned against the wall, Dante's forearm across his throat. If you've touched her... I haven't done anything, Vincenzo choked out. Yet. But she's out there, unprotected, in a world where everyone knows she's your weakness. How long before someone decides to use that? Dante released him, his mind calculating. Clementine was smart, resourceful, but she didn't understand how dangerous this world truly was. The meeting's over, Don Carmine announced. Dante, you have 48 hours to resolve this situation. Prove you can lead, or step aside. Highway 87, southbound. Clementine had stolen Marco's backup car keys and was halfway to Chicago when her phone rang. Dante. Where are you? His voice was controlled fury. Fixing your mess. By getting yourself killed? Brilliant plan. My father testified against you because of me. I'm going to make him recant. Clementine, turn around, now. No. She gripped the wheel. I won't let you lose everything because you were stupid enough to fall for me. I'd rather lose everything than lose you. The raw emotion in his voice nearly made her swerve off the road. Dante, please, amore mio, please turn around. We'll figure this out together. Together means you don't sacrifice yourself for me. It means I get to fight too. She took a shaky breath. I love you. That means I protect you, even from yourself. Clementine, I'll see you in Chicago. Try not to kill your cousin before I get there. She hung up, hands shaking, heart racing. Behind her, she didn't notice the black SUV that had been following since she left the cabin. Didn't see Vincenzo's men closing in. Didn't realize that her brave rescue mission was about to become Dante's worst nightmare. The black SUV forced Clementine off the road 20 miles from Chicago. She fought like hell, kicking, biting, screaming, but there were 3 of them and 1 of her. They dragged her to an abandoned warehouse in Gary, Indiana, the kind of place where screams disappeared into rust and shadows. Vincenzo was waiting. The prodigal princess returns. He circled her where she sat bound to a chair. You know, I almost admire your stupidity. Driving straight into danger to save my cousin. How romantic. Go to hell. Already there, Bella. He grabbed her chin. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to call Dante and tell him you made a mistake. That you're leaving him, going home to Daddy. If you don't, he pulled out a knife. I'll make sure there's nothing left for him to love. Clem spit in his face. The slap came hard enough to split her lip. Through the ringing in her ears, she heard Vincenzo's phone ring. Right on time, he answered. Hello, Cugino. Salvatore estate. Dante's blood turned to ice the moment he heard Vincenzo's voice. Let me speak to her. Of course. She's right here. A little bruised, but alive. For now. Clementine's voice came through defiant, despite the fear underneath. Dante, don't you dare give him what he wants. A crash. Then her muffled cry of pain. What do you want? Dante's voice was deadly calm, but his hand shook with rage. Simple. Step down. Announce to the families that you're unfit to lead, that you've compromised our operations for a woman. Give me control, and I'll let her live. And if I refuse, then I send her back to you piece by piece, starting with those pretty green eyes you love so much. Dante closed his eyes. Every instinct screamed to hunt Vincenzo down and paint the walls with his blood. But he couldn't risk Clementine's life on rage. I need time to think. You have 1 hour. Vincenzo hung up. Marco spoke immediately. We can trace the call, mobilize teams. No. Dante's voice was hollow. He'll kill her the moment he suspects an assault. He knows me too well. So what? You just give up everything? Everything I've built means nothing if she dies because of it. Dante looked at his oldest friend. I love her, Marco. More than power, more than the family name, more than my own life. Your father would say that's weakness. My father was a monster. Dante stood, decision made. And I refuse to become him. Not for power, not for legacy, not for anything. What are you going to do? Save the woman I love, whatever it costs. Warehouse. 45 minutes later. Clementine's vision was blurry from Vincenzo's encouragement, but she heard the door open, heard the footsteps she'd recognize anywhere. Dante, no, she whispered. You shouldn't have come. He looked like vengeance incarnate, black suit, cold eyes, but his hands were gentle as he touched her bruised face. Where else would I be? He turned to Vincenzo. Let her go. I'll give you what you want. Say it, in front of everyone. Vincenzo gestured to the cameras set up around the room. Tell the families you're stepping down. Dante looked at the cameras, then back at Clementine. She saw the moment he chose, saw him let go of everything he'd built, everything he was, for her. My name is Dante Salvatore, he began. And I... Stop. Raymond Hartley burst through the door, wild-eyed and desperate. "Stop this right now." Everyone froze. "Dad?" Clementine couldn't believe her eyes. "I'm sorry, baby. I'm so sorry." Raymond held up papers. "I recanted the testimony, told them everything, how Vincenzo manipulated me, how Dante was trying to help us, all of it. I gave it to the FBI." "You did what?" Vincenzo went pale. "Turns out federal agents are very interested in recorded conversations about debt coercion and human trafficking." Raymond's hands shook. "Especially when those recordings implicate someone already on their watch list." The sound of sirens filled the air. Vincenzo lunged for his gun, but Dante was faster. The fight was brutal and brief. Vincenzo never stood a chance against Dante's controlled fury. Within seconds, Vincenzo was on the ground, Dante's knee on his chest, gun to his head. "Give me one reason," Dante growled. "One reason I shouldn't end you right here. Because you're not our father." Clementine's voice cut through the rage. "Because you're better than that. Better than him, better than this whole damn world. Prove it, Dante. Let him face real justice." Dante's finger trembled on the trigger. Every fiber of his being wanted vengeance. Then he looked at Clementine, bloodied but unbowed, watching him with those eyes that saw through every wall he'd ever built. He lowered the gun. "You're right. He's not worth my soul." Dante stood as FBI agents swarmed in. "Take him." As Vincenzo was dragged away screaming threats, Dante cut Clementine's bonds and pulled her into his arms. "You're insane," he murmured into her hair. "Absolutely insane. You were going to give up everything for me. I'd give up 1,000 empires for you." He pulled back, cupping her face. "You're all that matters, amore mio. The only thing I can't live without." "What happens now?" she asked. "The families, your position." "I don't know. And for the first time in my life, I don't care." He kissed her forehead. "We'll figure it out. Together." Raymond approached hesitantly. "Mr. Salvatore, I'm sorry. For everything. The debt, the testimony, is forgiven." Dante extended his hand. "All of it. Your daughter taught me that some things are worth more than money." As they shook hands, Marco appeared. "The council wants to meet. Tomorrow. They've seen everything. The cameras Vincenzo set up broadcast to all the families." Dante tensed. And Don Carmine called personally. Said any man willing to give up power for love, willing to show mercy when he could take vengeance. Marco smiled. "That's the kind of leader this family needs for the next generation. They're supporting me? Unanimously. Vincenzo's arrest for federal crimes means you're undisputed. But Dante..." Marco's expression grew serious. "They know about Clementine now. Know what she means to you. That makes her a target forever." Clementine straightened, meeting Marco's eyes. "Then I guess I'd better learn to shoot." Despite everything, Dante laughed, a real, genuine sound of joy. "Marry me," he said suddenly. Clementine blinked. "What?" "Marry me. Right now, tomorrow, whenever you want. Make this official. Make you untouchable as a Salvatore wife." He took her hands. "Or don't, if you'd rather go home. Either way, I'm yours, whatever you choose." She looked at this man, this beautiful, broken, brave man who'd learned to love despite a lifetime of violence. "Ask me properly," she said. "On your knees." In a warehouse in Gary, Indiana, surrounded by federal agents and her bewildered father, Dante Salvatore, king of Chicago's underworld, dropped to one knee. "Clementine Grace Hartley, will you marry me?" She grinned. "Well, someone needs to keep you out of trouble." "Is that a yes?" "That's a hell yes." He kissed her, and for the first time since his father died, Dante felt truly free. 3 months later, the Hartley farm had never looked more beautiful. White chairs lined the meadow where Clementine used to run as a child. Fairy lights strung between oak trees, and Lake Michigan glittered in the distance. Dante stood at the altar, Marco beside him as best man, trying not to fidget with his cufflinks. "Nervous?" Marco whispered. terrified. Dante smiled. Best feeling I've ever had. The music started. Elisabetta dabbed her eyes in the front row. Raymond walked down the aisle first, beaming with pride despite everything they'd been through. Then Clementine appeared, and Dante forgot how to breathe. She wore her mother's vintage lace dress, altered to fit perfectly, with wildflowers in her auburn hair. No designer gown, no diamonds, just pure, natural beauty that put every sunset to shame. When Raymond placed her hand in Dante's, he whispered, "Take care of my girl." "With my life," Dante promised. The ceremony was simple, intimate. When it came time for vows, Clementine spoke first. "Dante Salvatore, you walked into my life as a villain and became my hero. You showed me that people can change, that love can heal even the deepest wounds. You chose me over power, mercy over vengeance, hope over fear. I promise to stand beside you, to challenge you when you're wrong, to celebrate you when you're right, and to love you through everything, even when you're being an insufferable Italian mob boss." Laughter rippled through the crowd. Dante's turn. His hands shook as he held hers. "Clementine, you saw me when I couldn't see myself. You looked past the monster I'd become and found the man I could be. You taught me that strength isn't about fear. It's about choosing love even when it's terrifying. You're my redemption, my future, my home. I promise to deserve you every single day, to protect not just your body but your spirit, and to build a life where our children never know the violence I grew up with." He paused, emotion choking his voice. "You saved me, amore mio. In every way a person can be saved." There wasn't a dry eye in the meadow. "I now pronounce you husband and wife," the officiant declared. "You may kiss your bride." Dante pulled Clementine close, kissing her like she was air and he'd been drowning. The guests erupted in applause, but they were lost in each other. "Hello, Mrs. Salvatore," he murmured against her lips. "Hello, husband." She grinned. "How does it feel to be married to a farmer's daughter?" "Like winning the lottery, becoming king, and finding God all at once." The reception. The barn had been transformed into something magical. Edison bulbs cast warm light over tables laden with food, half Italian, half farm country cooking, the collision of two worlds, perfectly balanced. During their first dance, Dante held Clementine close, swaying to an old Italian love song. "I have something to tell you," she whispered. "If it's that you're already regretting this, it's too late. No refunds." She laughed. "Remember how I said I wanted to modernize the farm, go organic, sustainable?" "Yes, and I've already arranged funding." "Dante, I don't need funding. I need a partner." She pulled back to look at him. "I want us to run it together. Turn it into something legitimate for the Salvatore name. Show the families that there's profit in legal business." He studied her face. "You want me to become a farmer. I want you to become whatever you want to be, free from your father's shadow, free from the old ways." She touched his cheek. "We could build something good here, something clean. Raise our kids somewhere they can run free." "Our kids?" His heart skipped. "Are you—" "Not yet, but someday." She smiled. "What do you say, Capo? Ready for a different kind of empire?" Dante looked around, at Marco laughing with Lucia, at Elisabetta teaching Raymond to dance, at all these people from different worlds coming together. "I say yes, to all of it, to everything with you." Midnight. They escaped the party, stealing away to the old oak tree where Clementine used to climb as a child. The lake sparkled below, stars bright overhead. "Tell me something," Dante said, pulling her into his lap. "That first day in the helicopter, did you ever imagine we'd end up here?" "Married? No. Killing you? Absolutely." He laughed, the sound rich and free. "Fair enough. I was a bastard. You were scared, hurting, trapped." She traced his jaw. "We both were in different ways. You in your legacy, me in my farm. Sometimes it takes someone else to show us we can choose differently." Clementine Salvatore. He tested her new name. It suits you. Better than prisoner? Infinitely. He grew serious. I meant what I said in my vows. Our children will never know that world. I'm legitimizing everything, the businesses, the operations, all of it. Marco's already working with the families on transition plans. And if some of them resist, then they resist. I'm done sacrificing my soul for power. He kissed her softly. You're my priority now. You and the life we're going to build. No more nightmares? Still come sometimes, but now I have you to chase them away. She nestled into his chest, listening to his heartbeat. Steady, strong, alive. Dante? Yes, amore. Thank you for choosing me, for choosing us. There was never a choice, Piccola. It was always you. 1 year later, Clementine stood on the porch of their farmhouse, a beautifully renovated blend of rustic charm and modern luxury, watching Dante in the fields. He wore jeans and a t-shirt, dirt under his nails, showing a visiting farmer their new irrigation system. The transformation was remarkable. Dante Salvatore Farms was now the premier organic producer in Illinois, employing 50 people from the local community. Dante had found purpose in building instead of destroying, in nurturing instead of controlling. The Salvatore empire had changed too. Under Dante's leadership, they'd divested from anything illegal, investing in real estate, technology, and sustainable agriculture. Some families had resisted, but most had followed, impressed by the profits legitimate business could bring without the risk. Vincenzo was serving 20 years for racketeering, kidnapping, and a dozen other charges. The FBI had been very grateful for the evidence. Raymond ran the farm's operations, finally at peace after years of struggling. He and Dante had become unlikely friends, bonding over their shared love for Clementine and terrible jokes. Mrs. Salvatore? Lucia appeared beside her. You should rest. Doctor's orders. Clem touched her rounded belly. 6 months along with a daughter they planned to name Grace, after her mother. I'm fine. Just watching my husband pretend he knows anything about soil pH levels. He's learning. Stubborn man, but he learns. Dante looked up, catching Clementine's eye. The smile that crossed his face, pure, unguarded joy, still took her breath away. He jogged over, kissing her soundly. How are my girls? Your daughter is using my bladder as a soccer ball, and your wife is wondering why she married a man who smells like fertilizer. Because I'm devastatingly handsome and you can't resist me? That must be it. He knelt, pressing his ear to her belly. Ciao, Piccola Grace. Papa is building you a beautiful world, one where strength means kindness, where power means protecting those you love. He looked up at Clementine. Where love is the greatest empire of all. She ran her fingers through his hair, this man who'd been broken and rebuilt, who'd chosen redemption over revenge. I love you, Dante Salvatore. I love you, Clementine Salvatore. My savior. My wife. My home. As the sun set over Dante Salvatore Farms, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose, Dante held his wife close. In the distance, the lake sparkled. All around them, life grew in soil they'd tended together. They had started with debt and darkness, with fear and captivity. But they'd built something infinitely more valuable, a love that transformed everything it touched. And in the end, that was the only empire worth having. The end.